Hi, everybody. This is Rob from Darkside Comics and Games in Chesterfield, Missouri. This is episode 4 of Darkside After Dark. And today I am joined by Thomas.
Hey.
Michael.
Hey.
Jacob.
Hello.
And Brandon.
Hello.
All right. So hope everybody's doing okay out there. Got a lot of Ikoria spoilers, and I guess that's part of what we're going to talk about today. By the time this goes up, it'll be a little bit old news, but we're just going to kind of jump into kind of a side note of what's going on with Ikoria. We're going to talk about singleton formats like Commander and Brawl and how companion cards should be played, or what they're intended to be played as. So as we know, the I forget the name of it already, but the legendary Otter was banned directly from Commander and Brawl by Wizards. I found that interesting because for the longest time, everybody's always said there's no sideboards in Singleton. So I thought it was kind of interesting to ban a card like that right away. I don't know, Brandon, what do you think about that?
I was excited to run it, like in my competitive VDH deck, but they very quickly got rid of it, which was smart. But imagine using like Demonic Consultation, exiling your entire library, and then you have Fish, on the battlefield, and then you can hold up 2 counter spells by having Lutri as in your exile pile from your Demonic Consultation. So there's all kinds of odd things you can do with it, and I'm kind of glad that it's banned to start out with. I think it's smart.
I mean, here at Darkside, we don't play with sideboards on Singleton. I mean, I used to a long time ago when I was a Commander player. I had a Yissa and the Wanderer Bard deck where I would play Spawnsire of Ulamog and just have 15, Eldrazi's in my quote-unquote sideboard.
Yeah.
And, just make all this mana ramp and fetch them out and go get them and just lay waste to everybody. But then everybody was like, oh, no, there's no sideboards in Commander, blah, 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 blah. We've never, ever played sideboards in Brawl. And I know, Michael, you're probably the biggest Brawl player here. What do you think?
Brawl.
What do you think about the? Oh, and let me preface too, for some people watching that might not know, we actually do Brawl differently here. We do not do standard legal, and we do not do rotating. We actually do Pioneer legal Brawl, and so that way it's a non-rotating format, and we just maintain our own ban list. I'm good either way with it being standard or Pioneer, but with it being Pioneer, we've had bigger turnouts, more people interested in it. And so we just kind of stuck with it, and it's been a pretty big hit since we've been doing it. I haven't heard anybody say they wished it was, the original way over the Pioneer way. I think it kind of allows us to have powerful decks without being so overpowered that a precon or somebody who walks in who doesn't know we do Pioneer, that they can't play. Because I play my Alayla deck, which is all standard legal stuff, and it still does just fine. Now, obviously, you can get some stuff that's completely overpowered, like our buddy Alex. He has his Yarick deck, and I've got my Narset deck, which everybody likes to hate on me for, and I end up still winning. And but yeah, we'll go back to Michael. So, Michael, you being a longtime Brawl player, would you welcome the idea of using companion cards and using a sideboard, or do you think it'd be better just to kind of stick without them?
So I'm on the fence a little bit about this. On one hand, I think it's a great idea to, like, if you wanted to go into 2 different colors. I mean, it just depends on how they're going to implement it in Brawl. Like, if you can use the companion cards along with your commander to make up to 5 colored decks, or however they want to do it, I think it could be a pretty interesting thing to see where the format goes. That being said, I don't think any of the color patterns need that big of a buff, though.
Well, they did say that the companions still have to be in the color identity of your commanders.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
does the companion, does that, like, say you were using Ugin, right, as your um commander, could you use one of the companion creatures to make it go two
No.
different other colors? That's where
No.
I was
It
on
would
the
still
fence about.
it would still be limited. So if your companion card is it, you'd have to use an is it commander like Adelies or something like that.
I mean, I'm okay with people using them in Brawl. I understood what the there was a video that the command zone used to say why they didn't like Spell Chaser, and they felt that the red blue decks didn't need that much more of a buff to go reach for a card that can copy spells.
Yeah.
Um, that was their argument. I understand that, and I guess in Commander it it makes sense, but in Brawl, particularly our Brawl format, I don't see it being broken. I would be perfectly fine with them being all legal.
I feel like almost if you're bringing it in from outside the game, it almost turns it into a makeshift Oathbreaker, like a signature spell in a way. You can only use it the once or whatever, but Jacob, what do you think about this? I mean, I know you weren't you said before when we were off air that you weren't too familiar with Companion, but I'm sure you got the idea of what it is now, right?
Yeah, so Umori the Collector, which is a Golgari companion card,
Hmm.
its
I kind of
ability
like that.
is yeah, its ability is something that's geared more towards oh, more of like a tribal deck, which is weird because when you think of tribal decks, do you really think of Golgari? So they're just different concepts. Just if you actually look at the companion cards, it's weird for those colors. There's
But
a
remember, they're hybrid,
yeah.
so it's not even like you have to use both colors. One of the things I was thinking about with that card, because that's the one where it's all your non-lands have to be share a type, right?
Card type.
A card
Correct.
type.
Yes.
Yeah.
So right now, like you could make that enchantment, and that would give you access to creatures, and like you could play white with it and have like uh you know ca- banishing light and different O-ring effects like that.
Huh.
That one in particular makes the spells cost one less too of the chosen type.
I mean, I thought that'd
Yeah.
be a artifact kind of companion, where like your golden eggs and your Pulse Citadel and everything else is just like super cheap. Um, I like that kind of build better.
Yeah, but then you're limited to artifact creatures, though.
Hopefully, you're not winning the game with artifact creatures then.
Which that makes it really weird because we're already playing in a standard format where your card pool is limited. So to encourage that kind of tribal synergy in a very limited format is just strange to me.
Maybe they're designed more for Pioneer.
Maybe.
Because I feel like if you were to play on like kind of going back to Brawl, because that's the topic is more of the singleton formats. Going back to Brawl or even Commander, I almost feel like it just turns everything into partner commanders in a way. Because it's just you have access to it immediately. I mean, yeah, you have some kind of limitation or some kind of prerequisite in your deck that you have to meet in order to use it. But I think on the flip side, the thing I do like is that, from what I can tell, they're all legendary, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they're all legendary.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. I kind of like that it gives us more things to play with. But in Brawl or Commander, as commanders, I always like hybrid mana for that stuff. Sometimes it can be a little overpowered, but I feel like bringing them in from outside the game it's kind of weird. I think it takes away the challenge of making your deck consistent with Singleton, because as you guys know, I'm a one of the things that kind of drove me away from Commander is all the tutoring, um, where it kind of takes away the whole point of having Singleton. Is if you can just every turn just go get whatever card you want. Okay. Having something tucked away that's not your commander and being able to just bring it out, as long as you can pay for it. Like, I think that's pretty. That can be a little there's a lot to exploit there. Does anybody disagree with that?
Yep.
What's your disagreement, Thomas?
Well, I mean, just the fact that you can only cast them from outside the game one time, that right there is like limit enough that I don't think it's going to be broken. And I think they were too quick to ban the elemental otter. I think they probably don't want to just ban as companions just because that would be confusing, so they just outright banned it.
Right.
But I think it should have been able to be included in a deck, or even as the commander, just not as the companion. But I think I do agree with your point, as there's no sideboards in Commander or Brawl, just like there's no wish boards. But on the other hand, I think they're just saying it goes in the sideboard just as a place for it to go, because I don't think they want it to be in the command zone for whatever reason. But they just have to say it starts somewhere. But like in Standard, it goes in your sideboard and actually takes up a sideboard spot in Standard.
Mm-hmm.
So you're actually losing a card there. Unlike in Brawl and Commander, they said it doesn't take up one of the slots in your deck. It's actually an extra card.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the argument with Commander is that they were adding another card to the deck, so it would be 101st card. And that was their argument with it, with the Elemental Order. But then again, what's one extra card in a deck of 100?
Yeah, that's true.
One thing I wanted to mention about Lutri is I think it goes infinite with Ghostly Flicker. And it's like the cheapest way to do so. Narume has the competitive version right now that does it, but having Lutri is like, let's say it's your commander instead of just your companion. That would be kind of not fair for casual EDH players.
I don't remember what it like. Why would Ghostly Flicker matter with it? What does it do?
Let's say you Ghostly Flicker 2 lands. In response, you can cast Lutri and then copy the Ghostly Flicker. And then you, with your copy, target Lutri, the Spell Chaser, and then copy, and then target your land. So you have 3 lands on tap, and then you still have, and then you have Lutri enter the battlefield. So you just copy the original Ghostly Flicker, and you just use the copy of Ghostly Flicker to go off, and then you keep targeting the original copy.
I see.
So considerable. I don't know if anybody's mentioned that yet.
I see.
I mean,
So
that's 3 mana for Ghostly Flicker and then 3 mana for Lutri also.
Would you want to play against someone that just like can play Mana Vault turn 1 and then like
And Soul
turn
Ring
2
turn 1?
Lotus Petal?
Yeah.
Like there's
in Commander, 6 mana is nothing.
yeah.
Yeah, but there's other combos that are that cheap as well, though.
Yeah, but like how Paradox Engine was just like not fair. This would be the Paradox Engine.
Right.
Casual EDH players suffered because of it, so I think that's why they're banning it. They didn't ban Flash.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
that's-
odd they
that's true.
haven't made a red-green one yet as of this
It's
date.
pretty sad.
Do they have one in each color combo yet, aside from red green?
Yeah, from what I've been looking at, I think they do.
Because they're going to have 10, and there's 10 combos. So
Yeah.
that makes us assume there's going to be a red green one, right?
Yeah.
Well, they got 6 so far.
The Planeswalker cards are green and red, so maybe that counts? Maybe?
So there's 4 of them. that-
Planeswalker companions.
Yes.
That'd
And
be
we're
weird.
still missing a
Companion.
Planeswalker out of this set, guys, too. On that note.
I mean, not all the cards have been released yet, right?
No.
Right.
They're
I
at
think
like
This
one-
is the last week for spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah, there's still 1 Planeswalker to go. There was one card I wish they would have made King Kong for the Godzilla theme stuff, but they didn't. And all right,
They obviously didn't have the license for it.
Mm-hmm.
Toho doesn't own the license to King Kong, from what I understand. So,
Yeah. Some people were wondering why they made the box topper the Godzilla, why it has a different name, even though there's not a version of it. And I was pointing out that the reason is because if they ever want to reprint it in the master set or something down the line, and if they don't have the license to Godzilla anymore, they wouldn't be able to reprint it.
yeah, and I think that was what Toho allowed them to do. They said, you guys can only do so many of these cards like this.
Yeah, they
So,
kind of going back to companions. Like initially, I didn't really care for. Like my gut instinct as soon as I read them, I was like, I don't really like that. I don't like. I don't like going in. I don't really care for sideboards to begin with for the game, but much less going into them constantly, which I do with Karn a little bit. But um, that being said, that Golgari companion looks kind of interesting to me, especially because I used to have a Golgari deck that ran almost exclusively creatures anyway. Because when you have stuff like Plaguecrafter and dipping back into Pioneer now, Ravenous Chupacabra and stuff like that can just take out creatures or whatever.
Noxious Gearhulk.
Yeah, Noxious Gearhulk, all that good stuff. Or even if you have creatures that O-ring stuff, if you wanted to go into like an Esper Bant build and do Deputy of Detention or something like that, Thomas's favorite card in the world. It's so easy to actually be able to do it. So, and it's not a bad creature on top of it. So, I think it makes for interesting deck building because the restrictions are what'll make you a better deck builder. So you were gonna say something, Jacob?
oh, I was just gonna ask. Looking at all the legendaries, like, what is everybody's favorite like legendary that they're most excited to play, like with Brawl or Commander?
We'll start with you, Thomas. What do you think?
I can't say because I haven't really seen one that really catches my eye, except for maybe the whichever one has the Mothra Godzilla card. That gives
Oh,
flying tokens.
White one.
Luminous Broodmoth.
Yeah, I mean that one looks cool just because you can. There's so many ways to combo out with it, and you know how I love my combos.
It's not a legendary.
It's not. Well,
Yeah, it's a
there
regular.
goes that. I assumed all the Godzilla cards were legendary.
What about you, Michael? Did any of them stand out for you?
There's one, and I can't pronounce the first part. It's the Apex of Wishes. The Beast Elemental Dinosaur.
The Luna.
Yeah, a Luna. There you go. You guys know I'm bad with names, so I'm trying not to fudge it. I want to toy with that card in actually my Teamer Elemental Standard deck. Let alone try to build something around it with a Brawl or Commander format.
What's it do?
So it's a 6/6 flying trample, 2 colorless Teamer mana cost.
Yeah.
Its mutate is 3 colorless, red-green hybrid, and 2 blue. But it's flying trample 6/6. And whenever this creature mutates, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land permanent card. Put that card into the battlefield or into your hand.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really powerful ability, but even if you don't get to pull it off, a 5-mana 6/6 flying trample is no slouch.
Yeah, and I don't know, I saw that card and I was drawn to it. I liked the artwork of it. The extended artwork, the Godzilla artwork of it, it all works for me.
Yeah. What about you, Jacob? Did you is there any that stand out to you?
For me, it's Nethroi, Apex of Death. It's the Abzan commander.
Okay.
It's a cat nightmare beast. And it's got it's a 5/5 Death Touch lifelink. Whenever this creature mutates, return any number of target creatures with total power 10 or less from the
Yeah.
graveyard
I remember seeing that one.
to the battlefield.
I knew that would be your card, man. As soon as I read it.
It's kind of good.
Yeah, and then that's mutate cost is 4 Selesnya and 2 Swamp.
Do you know what you play that with? You play that in a Huatli like Big Butts Matters deck, and then you can just
Yes.
return like all your creatures because they have like no power.
Yes, and then just kill everybody with butts.
Yeah. All right, Brandon, any stand out to you?
I've been staring at Luris of the Dream Den, the cat nightmare with companion. It says each permanent in your deck has to have converted mana cost 2 or less. And then it's a 3/2 with lifelink, which is fine. And during each of your turns, you can cast one permanent spell with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard. I was thinking about it for a while. Obviously, Black Lotus is a permanent 2 or less. But there's like Lotus Petal, and there's even Underworld Connection, not Underworld Connections, Underworld Breach. There we go. So if you're in a Mardu deck in Commander or something along those lines, I don't know if all companions are banned in Commander, but there's just like, I feel like it's a sleeper, and even in Standard, it can do a lot of work with recurring.
It kind of looks like Banehound.
Yeah, the art's beautiful.
Now, would Lotus Bloom work with that card too? Because it doesn't have a mana cost. It just suspends for 0.
No, it doesn't have a mana cost, so you can't choose to cast it for anything.
Okay.
I was looking at General Kudro of Drannith. He's the 3 mana Orzhov.
Oh yeah.
Human. He's a 3/3. Other humans you control get 1/1, and when he or another human enters the battlefield, under your control, exile a card from an opponent's graveyard, and you can pay 2 and sacrifice 2 humans to destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. I think that'd be fun. That would be like really good against Michael since he likes playing big creatures.
I do. I can't disagree with that.
It'd be good against Jacob too because he likes playing small creatures that end up really big in a couple of turns.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was kind of interesting. He kind of looks like Wilford Brunley too, which is who, oddly enough, kind of looks like my grandfather on my dad's side. So that would be kind of interesting. As much as I wished that Ikoria had no humans in it, instead they went all in on humans. Lair of the Beast or Behemoths. Here's a bunch of humans. Cool. I still think he's a cool card. There was also what was it? I'm looking here at Mythic Spoiler.
That darn turtle with haste.
Yeah, that one's cool. But there's the hybrid companion one, the Cat Nightmare. That
Oh, the one that I said looks like Banehound.
is that the one? Yeah.
Is that
Yeah,
what Brandon was talking about?
War's off one.
Luris of the Dream Den.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really trippy looking. He's got like a little cub behind him and stuff.
Yeah, the extended art foil is going to be beautiful.
So, if you were to say yay or nay, we'll start with Thomas. Do we allow companions in Brawl? Yay or nay?
Yes, of course.
And I don't mean like in the decks but like as intended to be companions.
Yeah, I think the restrictions that you have to jump through to use them as a companion, and then the fact that you can only cast them one time from outside the game is definitely plenty of limit that it's not going to break anything.
Okay. What about you, Michael? What do you think?
I'm thinking yes. There's already 1 or 2 of them that I want to try out. Oddly enough, I want to try out the Rakdos one, just because I think I could do something well with it.
Okay. Well, Jacob, what's your opinion on it?
Sure. As long as people aren't comboing off on turn 3 or turn 4.
Yeah. Brandon?
It should be safe enough in Brawl. Yeah, that'll be fine.
Yeah. I think where I'm leaning is I think we try it, see how it works out. And if it ends up being that the companion stuff is a little too strong, then maybe we still allow it, but it's a situation where everybody plays companions or nobody does. Kind of taper off if it ends up being too strong. But I like to start with trying it as opposed to just saying no.
And that was the thought in Oathbreaker. The Oathbreaker people, they said that even Lutry's not banned right off the bat. They want to try it out first, which I think Oathbreaker will have the same issue. It's going to be a big issue with that otter being as a companion, but they're at least willing to give it a shot first before banning it right away.
Yeah, we're Oathbreaker's limit. But go ahead, Brandon. What was that?
I was gonna say, like, you're probably gonna see like Ghostly Flicker as a signature spell or something like that. It's just gonna be like really like not diverse.
Yeah, I think that with Oathbreaker there needs to be more. There needs to be more proactive bannings of instants and sorceries, because the signature spell on some of these combinations just makes it ridiculous. You know, Scott's Dak Fade in with Argent Mutation is so annoying.
Using the spell chaser with that?
What's that?
Can you imagine him using the Elemental Otter with that?
God, it's even in those colors. Jesus.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, well, geez.
They'll just be able to copy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he can still only use Dak's ability once, and Argent Mutation only lasts till end of turn, so.
Well, and then but red has repeated reverberation, so you can.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a way for him to get around with abusing that.
Yeah, and if anybody can do it, Scott can do it. So.
Zahili Rai is pretty good too, because like you can like minus and copy the otter, and then you have to sacrifice it immediately, but you still get to copy whatever you have.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Or you throw like a Helm of the Host on it and just
every combat, whatever.
Yep. And then that's making non-legendary ones. So if you have Saheeli, you can just copy the non-legendary one, so you can get like 2 copies a turn, which is kind of ridiculous. So yeah, I guess. Does anybody? We're coming up on time. Anybody have anything to add as far as companions and Singleton?
Really?
No,
No,
I think
I'm all good with
we're all good. So, all right, I think that does it for episode 4 of Dark Side After Dark. Thank everybody for joining us today, and thank Thomas, Michael, Jacob, and Brandon for joining us on this topic. You know, leave us some comments. What's everybody's thoughts on this? Do you even play Brawl or Commander? If you do, you know, do you think companions are too busted? Think they're fine? If you don't play, does this make you actually think about playing? But as always, try to be civil to each other. You can be mean to us, that's fine, but be civil to each other. And until next time, we are out. Thanks, guys.